Good morning and happy Friday. Once again, it's me, your host, Maya Perez, and we have an absolute banger of an episode for you today. The Utah Mammoth have officially began their first season under the name and have started off decently strong, currently sitting at the 5th seed in the Western Conference. And you know, the dynamic duo is back to debate whether the Mammoth are a playoff caliber team or not. Nathan Olson and Kyle Sparrow are at the desk to tell you more.
Welcome to today's edition of Hockey here on the Huddle. Once again, it's the dynamic duo, and we're not going anywhere. It's Nathan Olson, and that's Kyle Sparrow. Yes, and today we are talking about something that we actually don't agree on. The Utah Mammoth, and if they will make the playoffs. Kyle?
I believe the Utah Mammoth will make the postseason. Now, I know what everyone says, oh my gosh, they're too young of a group, they don't have enough experience, but I think that's one of their beneficial properties, you know? They have a young team, you know, obviously you don't have that veteran guy quite yet, but you know, I think young groups tend to do well in those kind of make or break scenarios. You do have young guys like Dylan Gunther who's starting to excel. You do have guys like Clayton Keller who are starting to excel. And I think that it would just kind of be refreshing for the league in a way because, you know, you have a team that's fairly new to the NHL. Obviously, they were the Arizona Coyotes at one point. But I just think it would be so much better if the NHL had the Utah Mammoth in the postseason.
And obviously I said we disagree. No. The Utah Mammoth are not going to be a playoff team this year. He brought up the fact that they were previously the Arizona Coyotes, and hate to break it to you, they're still the Coyotes. They are not that team yet. You also mentioned that the Utah don't have a leader yet, a guy, but that's wrong. You're wrong. They have Miguel Sergachev, who was there for 2 cups with Tampa Bay when they were going on their crazy run, almost won 3 cups. Miguel Sergachev was there. He's won the cup before, yet he's not a leader with the Utah Mammoth team. Sure, he is tied for first in assists. Like, don't get me wrong, great NHL player. He will find ways to get the pucks in a scoring position. He's a guy you bring out in the power play, for sure. But this 10-7-3 team, 23 points, 5th place in the Central, they're 16th in the NHL. They're right in the middle. And I don't see them making those steps forward where they can win important hockey games coming down the stretch.
I think just the fact that we're only 1/4 into the season, 20 games played, I just think, they're kind of peaking at the right time, Obviously, they've had a couple ups and downs early in the season, but I think, I'm gonna use this example. I know it's not gonna be a great example, but the Sabres a couple seasons ago, they were on a winning streak. They were peaking at the right time. Obviously, we missed the playoffs as per usual. But I just feel like, as you mentioned, Miguel Sergachev, I feel like the only reason I don't call him a leader yet is because of that injury that he suffered. I think he broke his leg, right? Mm-hmm. And I think they're just almost there. And I think if they can get some wins, some tough wins, because we don't know. The NHL is one of the most unpredictable leagues.
Absolutely.
I think.
But look at the NHL. Look who's in front of them. Look at the teams that are in front of them in the Western Conference.
I'm not saying that, but at the same time, you like to see these new teams. They basically have a couple wins, and you get the momentum, and then we all know that can just skyrocket a team into the postseason.
Like I said, look at the teams in front of them in the Western Conference. Western Conference is one of the tougher. I think it's tougher than the Eastern Conference right now. Eastern Conference, they have a lot of up and downs. Western Conference has a lot of young, important talent. The teams in front of them, San Jose. San Jose has been going crazy. The Utah Mammoth, actually, as the day we're recording this, so this is going to be on November 18th. Yesterday they lost to the San Jose Sharks in overtime with youngster Macklin Celebrini scoring a hat trick. All right, you got them in front of them. Then you got Anaheim, who's leading the Pacific right now. And I get that the Mammoth are in the Central, but it comes down to standings, and we're a little bit of the Pacifics are standing as well. Anaheim leading, one of those teams that no one really saw. They're leading the Pacific right now. And even if they have a drop-off, they're still going to be one of those really, really strong teams fighting for possibly a wild card spot come on, and I just don't see the Mammoth passing them. Talking about the Central Division alone now, you have Winnipeg, who's right around them. Winnipeg will find their stride. They always do. You'll have Connor Hellebuck lock in for the regular season and then fold in the playoffs. But it doesn't matter. Utah's not going to be there. You have Minnesota, who we've seen time and time again. They're injured throughout the year. They look like they're out of the race. Next thing you know, they get healthy and they push for the playoffs with a month left. They make it and lose in the first round. Look, the NHL, though unpredictable, is very, very predictable. You see the same stories over and over and over again to the point where Utah is not written in that history.
To the point you made about the Ducks, I feel like, yes, they're doing well, but it's essentially they have a very similar team to the Mammoth. You know, young guys doing well, you know. I can see how they're doing well. You know, Leo Carlson's doing really well. Their goaltending's been outstanding. And then same with the San Jose Sharks. Young guys stepping up. Macklin Celebrini, I think he's top 5 in points right now. And it's just, I'm saying the room for potential for the Mammoth, I think, is greater. Yes, we have some teams that are doing much better than we originally anticipated. But I just think that the Mammoth, they have everything going for them right now. But as you said, NHL is unpredictable but predictable. But, you know, I just love to see those, like, underdog stories, you know. You look at the Arizona Coyotes, let's be honest. They're garbage. They were not. I
do wish that they remained in Arizona. I don't like them moving to Utah too much. I think it's going to be good for the fan base. There are fans in Utah. People like hockey out there. That's good. But you talk about a young team with potential right now. You got the Blackhawks, man. I mean, and they also play in the Central Division. They're going to be a team that probably takes the playoff spot away from Utah when it's all said and done. I mean, you have Connor Bedard, my boy Connie B, who's absolutely killing it in the league right now. He's going insane. He's top 5 in points as well.
Yep.
Who are also ahead of them right now. The Mammoth, the Blackhawks are ahead of the Mammoth, and in that race. And I think when it's all said and done, you got Frank Nazar as well on that Blackhawks team.
He's been doing really good.
He signed a contract during the offseason, 7 years, $46 million, AAV of $6.95 million. That's the right contract for him. A little side tangent, but that's the right contract for him. I think the Blackhawks are way better because of that.
Yeah, I think, you know, they're kind of, you look at Bedard and you look at Nazar and, you know, they're doing really well. And I think that, you know, the Blackhawks got their guys pretty much. And, you know, we talked about Bedard being like the next Connor McDavid up to his caliber, and he's kind of living up to that name in a way, because Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers not having the greatest season so far, but you know, Connor Bedard, his shot is out of the, like we saw it in the juniors. It is insane.
It's too good.
But I think I just love rooting for the underdog, and I think you obviously mentioned those higher caliber teams, or I'm not going to say higher caliber, but those better teams, quote unquote. But you know, you never know. The Mammoth could sneak in a couple of good wins. They play your Vegas Golden Knights their next game, and that should be another good one. And I think it just, if they can get rolling, I think they're in a really good spot. Yes, they got to win some tough games. They got a couple of conference opponents to get past, but I just think that's what you love about the NHL.
The Utah Mammoth are a team that I like to describe as a wagon team. For those that don't know that, a wagon team are teams that go on a ride. Like, they win 8 straight games. You hear about it all over social media. You're like, whoa, Utah Mammoth just won 8 straight games? Like, that's crazy. And then you look at the people they play, and I'm just nobody. One good team, nobody. And then all of a sudden, they fall off the face of the earth because they're a wagon team. They're either really, really, really hot or they're not, you know? And I think Utah Mammoth right now are a wagon. Doesn't mean that they won't have a quote-unquote good season, Kyle, but it doesn't mean they're winning, or not winning, into the playoffs. They're not just gonna make it. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. You know, that's the beauty of the NHL. You know.
Well, I will give you that. We are very, very early on.
Yeah.
But like I said, they're a wagon team. They'll die off.
Also,
the wheels will fall off.
It was a hot take. I love arguing with people. It's great. You know, and I do believe that the Mammoth. I'm not saying they're gonna win a playoff game.
A game in general. So if they make the playoffs, they're getting swept.
If they make the playoffs, my prediction is right. I'm not saying they're gonna go farther. I'm saying they're making the playoffs.
That's okay.
Making the playoffs.
So you say if they make the playoffs, whoever they play against, they're getting swept. Are they going to be the wild card 2 team?
I'm saying my prediction is right if they make the playoffs. I could care less what they do after the postseason. I just, if they make it there, we come back to this episode, we clip the part. Kyle Sparrow said the Utah Mammoth would make the postseason. Boom, bang, post it. Bob's your uncle.
All right,
Bang.
well, I mean, same thing. We'll come back to this episode when the Utah Mammoth are statistically eliminated.
Nah.
Boom, bob, bing, bang,
Not
Kyle.
gonna happen. No.
Boom, bob, bing,
We
Kyle, and then all of
believe
a
in
sudden-
Dylan Gunther.
No.
We believe in the
Dylan
Kel
Gunther. Do you have your faith in Dylan
We
Gunther?
believe.
Look, okay, this is insane.
We
This
believe.
is insanity
We
over
believe.
here. This dude's just riding
We believe.
momentum that will soon die off. But hey, that's all the time we have here on today's episode of the Huddle. It's going to take a few months before we figure out who's right, but
Yep.
when we do, we'll definitely come back and keep on this discussion going. I've been Nathan Olson.
I'm Kyle Sparrow.
Thank you.
Well, it's always great to have the dynamic duo in studio. Missed you guys last week, but let's dribble on down to John Ednicott, Ethan Demlau, and Marcus Miles, who are ready to discuss the NBA teams who are underperforming the most and its impact on the draft. Ethan, take it away.
Thank you, Maya. We've talked a lot about the good teams, the surprises over the past few weeks that the season started, but let's talk about some of the bad teams. There's a lot of teams that are going to tank right now. There's a lot of good draft picks that are available. Who's been a really interesting tank job for you so far?
One team that comes to mind has to be the Pacers, a team that just came off a finals run, was just one game away from winning a championship. So I think with them, they're kind of in I would say, a pretty awkward situation. There's a lot of murmurs about whether to trade either Benedict Mathurin, or Pascal Siakam. But what this team kind of reminds me of is that 2019-2020 Warriors team.
Yeah.
They just came off, a championship, a finals run that following season, and then, they ended up tanking that season after. So I think with the Pacers, they definitely, I would say, they have a shot for one of the top 3 picks in the NBA draft this coming year. So I think the Pacers is one team that kind of stands out to me in terms of tank jobs.
I mean, the thing with that is, they were what? They were in the finals last year. They went to Game 7,
Right.
and then you take Halliburton away from this team, and now just the worst team in the NBA. And it's really interesting because if they do trade Siakam or someone like that, they could get someone like a Ken Boozer in the draft. And I think that's going to be really scary because if someone like Ken Boozer can come in and immediately contribute, they're already back to finals contention,
Absolutely.
like right after being maybe the first, second overall pick.
Yeah, absolutely. For me, I don't really have a tank job. Well, I have a tank job, but it's a tank from first. Doesn't make any sense, but it's the Clippers and the Thunder situation. We have an absolute doomsday scenario on the table right now. We could watch the Thunder go back-to-back and then have a top 5 pick in the NBA draft next season.
Sam Presti is
Shout out
yeah,
Sam.
Sam
fact-
Presti is wild.
Yeah, that trade, I understand it was for PG and Kawhi, but it's just aging like sour milk right now.
No, I mean, the thing is, there's a lot of really interesting things when you look at if you go to Tankathon and you look at this, right now, the Pelicans don't even know their pick. They just fired their head coach, and they're sitting at, the 3rd best odds right now. They also don't have their pick. That's going to Atlanta. I believe Utah doesn't even own their pick, or at least it's top 8 protected.
Yeah.
So even they might not get the 1st round pick this year, and that might also go to Oklahoma City. So when you look at this, there's a lot, you can't just take the worst teams and, say, yeah, they're going to get Ken Boozer, they're going to get Demansfield, they're going to get, anyone like that. But when you look at that, it's going to be chaos when we get towards the lottery. You have anything to add on that?
I mean, for me, with the Thunder, the rich just keep getting richer. I mean, the fact that, like you said, the fact that they can, two-peat and they have a chance to get 2 top 10 picks
Crazy.
in next year's draft, it's just insanity. So, as an NBA fan or a Lakers fan, it's scary times for the NBA for sure.
I mean, Sam Presti's been doing this for 5 years now, where he's been hoarding all these draft picks.
Right.
And then he finally unloads them, gets SGA. He drafts Holmgren and all that.
He's
J-Dub.
done a wonderful job as GM, man.
You think the contract's ever going to get up to him? You think? I mean, right now they can afford everyone, but if they even add another wing,
But I think
they add
at
another
some
guard,
point, Presti is such a wonderful GM. I don't think he's gonna be one of those GMs that's too sentimental and holding on to guys that are past their contribution period for the team. So if he notices a guy starting to slump, I believe he will trade them. And then, like we said, he has so many picks to fall back on. He can move off of these guys and replace them, not with ease, but he can do it. He can find a way to do it. We know it's Presti. He finds a way. And with all those picks that he has loaded up, I can easily see him moving a Jalen Williams.
You think he's the first to go?
No, I don't think he's the first to go. This is just a scenario that I'm putting out there. I could see him moving a guy like that and then finding a wing that's just as close in caliber as him, and they can just keep it rolling for years and years. Just
I mean, theoretically, you said it isn't J-Dub, then who would it be? Who's like the core piece of Thunder that they'd have to get rid of if they don't want to reach second April?
I'm not gonna lie. I think someone like a Hardenstein or a Holmgren might.
I say Lou Dort.
Lou Dort.
Lou Dort, maybe.
Lou Dort.
Caruso.
Caruso.
Yeah,
Caruso, they could
Caruso's-
easily trade away.
Caruso's like
get more first
33
round picks.
now,
And,
32,
you know.
33. He's getting up there, so.
Yeah.
I think Lou Dort, Caruso, Hartenstein are the three that would be first out the
Yeah.
door. And then after those three are out the door, that's when the conversation starts to get a little bit interesting.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about a good front office in OKC. Let's talk about a bad one, maybe the worst, Sacramento Kings. I am a Kings fan. I'm not
How do you
gonna.
feel about
I'll be
that,
honest
man?
about that. However, this is a great season for me because they're just bad, and I kind of love it. They're 3-11 right now. They play the OKC Thunder on like tonight. And it's just not looking good, and I mean that in the best way possible because I've been saying for this team to rebuild for so long. Sabonis has kind of already ran his time. I mean, we've seen it now. His like stats, they're good, but it doesn't amount to winning.
Yeah,
He got what? He got taken out of the game in the playoffs. I mean, they traded Fox for Levine, and that's gone nowhere. And they have the pieces. I think you could trade DeRozan, even at the traded line, get something good for that. Maybe, probably not Levine. I think you get something for DeRozan and Sabonis, and really like jumpstart this rebuild.
Yeah, it's time for them. They keep trying to hang on. They're teetering around that 9th seed every season, 8th seed, teetering in the play-in tournament. They're just like they're the West version of the Bulls. You know, they have DeMar and Levine, and the Bulls were a similar team. We were waiting on them to finally jump into a rebuild. They never did it. They kind of sat on their hands. We're watching the Kings do the same. I hope they don't repeat those mistakes that the Bulls front office make, and I hope they move off of those guys for sure, and just try to get youth, because those guys are all older in age. There's no reason as the 10th seed, 11th seed to keep them on the roster. You're not going to win anything with them. Just move off of them and get started on the rebuild.
I mean, Levine's basically untradeable with his contract.
Yeah, it's a
he's
rough
such a
situation for
high stats, low output type of player. And then when you really look at the rest of this roster, I would try my best to keep Keon Ellis, keep Keegan Murray, but a lot of that's really unreasonable. Teams are going to want Keon Ellis if they're going to take on a contract
definitely.
like Sabonis is or DeRozan's. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, like you said, like I feel like with the Kings, they need to move off those three guys most definitely. I mean, for you guys, I feel like you guys have a pretty good young core. You guys also drafted pretty well this last draft. So I think keeping someone like a Keon Ellis is super important if you want to kind of start that rebuild. I feel like he's a guy that you kind of put your sole focus on because he's a great 3-and-D player. So I think with him, you definitely have to keep him around, but definitely get rid of those three guys that are just kind of holding up like contracts and whatever.
Yeah, but
my question for you would be, out of those two, out of Ellis and Keegan, who do you prefer to keep? As the
I'd keep Keon mainly. Well, actually, no, I'd keep Keegan mainly because I think right now Keon Ellis is a better player. Keon Ellis is one of the best 3-and-D players in the league, and the fact that Chris isn't playing him is just blasphemy. The fact that we fired Mike Brown over that, and we found it to be like the worst thing in the world that they were just benching Keon Ellis, and then now Doug Chris is doing the same thing. So yeah, I find Keon Ellis to be a better player, but Keegan Murray just has more value. What every NBA team needs right now, and they're just looking for, and they're trying to stock up on, are just lengthy wings that can defend, shoot the three, and just play off the ball.
Yeah.
And Keegan Murray is probably the prototypical version of that. So I'd probably keep him just for value purposes. But if you were to ask me who's a better player, I'd say Keon.
Understood.
Any other teams that we want to mention? I mean, you got the Wizards. And a lot of other teams.
Can briefly talk about the Pelicans and how bad their season has gone.
Yeah.
I mean, they just fired Willie Green. They're the last seed in the West. I just think.
Do we see Zion get moved finally?
I think
Maybe.
this is the year that he
Is
finally
this
does
finally
get
it?
moved.
I think it has to be.
It's just been too long. I feel like the Zion experiment is way over. So I think it's time to definitely move on from him.
I mean, we say all that, but they don't even know their first round pick this year. That's going to the Hawks. I mean, that's going to do it for us. It was nice talking to you guys. Maya, back to you.
Thank you, guys. But you know who's also been underperforming? the Chiefs. They currently sit at a 5-5 record, the first time since 2015. Now, Ariel Meza is joined by Jamarion Johnson and Justin Young to discuss the Chiefs' future.
Thank you, Maya. As you said, the Chiefs are struggling right now a little bit. 5-5 record. They're going up against the Colts, who are standing at the top of the division, or the conference, actually. So, yeah. Justin, what do you think about the Chiefs? You think they're going to come back, make that typical Chiefs run in the playoffs, or do you think they're going to fall off and miss the playoffs?
Unfortunately for us, I do think they're going to bounce back, and they are going to go back to the playoffs. And there's signs for progression, you know. They have, at this time last season, they were 9-1, now they're 5-5, but they have more points than that 2024 Chiefs teams. They're allowing fewer points, and they have an improved turnover margin. There are signs for progression. Now, what's really burning them right now is that right now they are 0-5 in close games, meaning games decided by 8 points or less. So they're not really getting it done when it really matters, but the formula's there. They just need to put it to the test.
You agree with that?
I mean, he took the words right out of my mouth, really. I agree. We know what the Chiefs can do when it matters. They're a winning team. They've 2 Super Bowls lost this last one, 1-2 before that. We know what they can do in the playoffs and when it really matters. So I mean, I feel like you can't go against them right now. Yeah. And in their schedule, like you said, playing the Colts, I feel like the Colts are some pretenders. Being honest with you, yeah, I think they're some pretenders if I'm being honest. And then the rest of their schedule, like we talked about, Chargers and who
Broncos,
and
Chargers,
Broncos, yeah.
Broncos, Texans.
Yeah,
Texans,
I don't believe in any of those teams for real. Besides the Broncos. Besides the Broncos.
I mean, I can see where you're coming from a little bit, but like we were saying, they are losing these close games, which was the difference from this team than last year, right?
You do mention that. However, those losses were to the Chargers, Eagles, Jaguars, Bills, Broncos. Those are all playoff teams.
Chargers, Broncos. So that's 2 teams.
No, those were on the road. These next 2 against the Chargers and Broncos are at home. We know Arrowhead is a home field advantage,
that's
unlike
ecstatic.
anything.
That's fair.
So, yeah, all the losses, they're all the playoff teams, and they're all super close games. I don't see why they can't turn it up.
They still have good teams to play. I mean, the Colts are a playoff team.
They're pretenders.
But
you don't lose to the Steelers, and then you're not.
They beat the Broncos.
Sure.
So they're a quality team. And the Chiefs don't look that great. They could totally lose a close game. Sure, it's close. But again, that was the difference from last year. Last year, they would have beat those playoff teams. That's what made them the Chiefs. Now, they're not that same team. They look like they're fumbling these close games. They don't have a lot of room for margin anymore. They're playing good teams, Colts, even if they're pretenders. I'm going to say the Cowboys. I think we're on a little come up. I know you're not going to agree, but I think the Cowboys could sneak one away. And then if they lose, either Broncos or Chargers is done. Like, they have at most 2 losses, maybe 3. I don't even think they have.
If the Cowboys defense plays as good as they did against the Raiders, they just may have a chance.
Geno Smith versus Patrick Mahomes, ooh, they're really close.
I don't think so. Turnover margin. I think Geno throws Patrick Mahomes in the Chiefs 2 picks.
I mean, we'll see when the Cowboys play the Eagles. But back to the Chiefs, I just don't think they're playing to a level that they should be playing. If they want to make those playoffs, I mean, like we've said in previous weeks, the NFL overall is a tough year.
Sure, but I will say they are starting to finally get healthy. You know, Rashee Rice without the suspension, Xavier Worthy has missed some time. They've not had a single receiver start all 10 games. And same with the running backs. Pacheco and Hunt have been splitting time. And both of them, they really aren't that good. Pacheco's having a down year. Hunt is on the older side. So they're really having to rely on, kind of like the old days, Mahomes and Kelsey. That's kind of what's been propelling them.
He's not really the same guy.
And he's not, but at least he's been healthy.
Yeah.
Rice and Worthy haven't played all 10 games, so I definitely think that those 2 are what's going to really elevate them. They're gonna lock in.
I think they're going to show up late in the season. Like, I don't think there's really a doubt that they're going to show up late in the season.
But will they show up soon enough to even make the playoffs?
No, right now I think they'll show up. These next games, they're going to show up. If they don't, well, then they just won't make the playoffs. But I believe they will.
Yeah.
I can agree. I think if they make the playoffs, we have to look out for the Chiefs once again. Which
you can't say they're not going to the Super Bowl or the NFC or AFC Championship. You can't say
if they make the
playoffs.
I mean, it'd probably be against the Bills again, and we'll get to see the Bills lose once again. Friend Kyle would love that.
Yeah, he would love to see them lose again.
I'd love to see that too.
Yeah. Real quick, you think the Steelers are gonna make it, or you still think they're gonna fall off?
I still think we're gonna fall off. You know, one win against a bad Bengals defense does not really decide everything. We got the Bears. I'm kind of iffy on that. We still have to play the Ravens twice. You know, we have to play. I think we have to play the Lions. I don't think we're going to win those games, and unfortunately, that's just how it goes. You know, you get a tough schedule. You got to play to your tough schedule, kind of like the Chiefs.
Yeah.
But the Steelers don't have a Patrick Mahomes. We got a Mason Rudolph trying to patrol things around there.
Well, moving on to the next quarterback, we're talking about Patrick Mahomes, real great. But now we have a rookie coming in, finally getting his start against the Raiders. This is Shedeur Sanders, of course, anticipated. What do you see him doing against the Raiders this week?
I mean, he's getting his first ever starts with the starting group. Like last week, he had the line didn't even know his snap cadence. That's crazy. As a quarterback coming into the starting group, you like the whole team has to be on the same page. There's no way your line doesn't know your starting snap or your snap cadence, and that's a head coach issue. But this week there's no like, you have to show up this week. You have a whole week to prepare, a whole week to get ready. I don't think there's any. At least be respectable this week, because he was 4 for 16 last week with an interception. I mean, at least be respectable. This is your first full game being a starter, so I say.
You're not a Shedeur believer?
Here's the thing. I wouldn't be a Shedeur believer if it was against any other team. But literally, all Shedeur has to do is be better than Geno Smith.
Literally.
You can throw me in a Browns uniform, I'll do better than Geno Smith. That's not the problem. Problem is, as the famous Jameis Winston once said, be Bruce Wayne until it's time to be Batman. You don't need to be slinging that thing 50 times like a Jacoby Brissett. All you got to do, take the check down to, Quinshon Judkins, throw the in route to Jerry Jeudy, hit Njoku and Fannin. You don't need the deep passes. You don't need the breaking 3 sacks to throw the miracle pass. Hand the ball, make the correct pass. That's all you need to do. And they'll win, because the Raiders' offense isn't doing anything against their defense.
Yeah,
so
no, that Browns defense is going to do everything. Myles Garrett. They should be just fine on the defensive side, not the Browns. Like you said, they just need to play it safe with Shedeur on the front. My question to you, though, you think Shedeur is going to perform better than Dylan Gabriel would?
Dylan Gabriel has no NFL tools. He is short, he is left-handed, which I know some people can succeed. He can't. And he's not very accurate or fast. He has no tools. I don't see why they drafted him so high, especially above Shedeur. So I do believe he is better than Dylan Gabriel.
You agree with
And on the weight side, too, he's not a bigger guy, so I like you said, not all the tools are there for me.
Man, I really love that Shedeur is getting his start against the Raiders, because to me, like, the Raiders should have drafted Shedeur. I thought they should have been their first pick, but Genty's a great pick, of course. But once they got Genty, and I've said this multiple times, once they get Genty, then you had like 4 rounds where you still could have gone your franchise QB. I don't care if you don't think he's a franchise QB talent. He can be built to that, I think. He could have even learned under Geno, which, I don't know if you want to learn too much from Geno right now.
No, that's bad.
That's bad, but come on, like, the Raiders are acting like they have a win now team, and that's been my biggest pet peeve with them. They're not a win now in any situation. They never were. Not with Geno. Not with any quarterback, in all honesty.
Yeah.
So why not get Shedeur? And so now Shedeur, it's almost like a revenge game in my mind, at least, for Shedeur to go and prove the Raiders, like, oh, you messed up, you should have picked me.
Yeah, and in no situation should you, as a terrible NFL team, take a running back with a top 10 pick. I know Genty's great, and he will be great, but you couldn't have gotten like a Travion Henderson in like the 2nd round or something like that, who has been comparable this year, and you could have used that 1st round pick on literally anybody, a Shedeur, Jackson Dart, got just literally any other talented piece that is not a running back.
Especially
That's just
when you have the most abysmal O-line possible, right? Like, Genty's literally set up for failure, and now people are going to say he's a bust. Genty's not a bust. It's just he doesn't have anyone helping him.
Yeah.
He's got to be his own O-line. It's impossible, dude, even with his Michael Myers stance.
Yeah, his fire stance, I do like that.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I think you saw the Cowboys held them down. When he had
Take
He just loves the Cowboys.
7
I can't
yards.
believe you,
Bro,
bro.
take UNLV's chess club. They can hold the Raiders offense right now.
Goodness, man. I think Shedeur just needs to, hone in and really. He holds the ball too long for me back there. I think he should just let it go this game. This game would be a perfect game to improve and get better, like all around the table. Not just from last week, just from training camp to right now. I think,
Yeah.
Well, that's all we have for Shedeur and Mahomes. We'll see how their seasons play out. We'll see it in this weekend, but that's all we have right now for the NFL Huddle part. Back to you, Maya.
Deuces.
Oh yeah, baby! Shedeur Sanders to carry my fantasy team to the championships. But unfortunately, that is all the time we have for today. What a great episode. So make sure to follow all of our socials to see more content and come back next week for another episode of The Huddle. I was your host, Maya Perez. See you next week.